Epic Hero. As many of you know, I am something of a bookworm. Besides being a book writer, I definitely read a lot in my spare time. That's one place that my desire to be a writer came from, was just being obsessed with being able to escape into fictional worlds. But as I got older, time kicked in, jobs kicked in, adulting kicked in, and I got much less time to read. But at the beginning of the year, I made a promise to myself to read at least one book a month, and I almost did it. So I wanted to go over with you a few books that I read this year and why I think they're important. So the first book that I started that I actually ended up finishing is Nerve. Many of you may have heard of it. It was a major motion picture, now a major motion picture. And the basic storyline is about this girl, played by, what's her name? Played by Emma Roberts in the movie. Anyway, she logs onto this website called Nerve, where basically what it does is it challenges you with some kind of dare. Go steal a thing of lipstick from a convenience store and video yourself and put it online. Or go, kiss a stranger, or go sing loudly in public, or these dares go on and on. And they have to video it, and they have all these watchers. You can sign up to be a player, where you do the dares, or a watcher, where you dare people, you vote, whether you like them or not. And if you become one of the most popular players, you can move on to the next levels and all kinds of things like that. And the reason I was immediately interested in it, even though I'm not a huge fan of teen dystopia like The Hunger Games or Divergent or anything, was because this centers around the internet. And it reminded me a lot of YouTube. If you haven't been on YouTube a lot, you may not know, but there's a huge dare kind of challenge culture where people will, just do crazy things on YouTube. Just whatever the craziest thing is that gets them the most attention, and then they get more and more popular, and then the more stupider, more risky stuff they do, the more viewers they get. And it was just really, really closely similar to this book. And it gets to the point where it's like, this book is so close to reality that it's a little scary, and it makes you think about this challenge culture and this internet fame culture that we have. I loved it. I saw the movie recently, and I loved how they actually featured a famous YouTuber, Casey Neistat, in the film. That was a funny little cameo. But it just, as the book comes to an end, or as the movie comes to an end, they start showing more and more the risks and the dangers and the fake friendships and the things that happen when you are sucked into this internet fame world, and just the weird adrenaline that gets her started, or that could get you started in doing these stupid things, and having this audience that you're disconnected to. And then at the very end, I love in the film, and he has something like this in the book as well, where her boyfriend texts her and he's like, hey, what you doing? What's up? And she says, no phones. I just rather see you. And he's like, all right, coming right over. And it was just really cool because so much of teenage communication these days is online, to a unhealthy extent. And you might be like, wow, hope you want to talk. I love online. I love YouTube, and I love Instagram. And but that's one of the reasons that I've become, I think, I've had firsthand experience about how you can't just live your life online and have that be your life. And you can't just do things for the attention. You have to really back off and use it the right way and be yourself and everything. So really important book, really important messages. The next book that well, this isn't exactly a book, it's a series of books. As you can see, I'm on number 4 right now of the Harry Potter series, which my family didn't read growing up, but we started to get into them last year. And this year I read book 2, 3, and I'm reading book 4. I read book 1 last year sometime. And they're just so good. These are one of those things that there's a reason it's popular. Hunger Games and Divergent are not my favorite things. And I'm sure there's a reason that they're popular, but I feel like to some extent, after they got popular, kind of for being the first sort of rebirth of the teen dystopia genre, after that they were just kind of popular because they were popular. Tell me if I'm wrong, but maybe that's just not my thing. But this definitely I understood why it was popular when I started reading it. because, I mean, I'm a sucker for any kind of magic story, fantasy story, and actually British kids literature. So I started falling in love with it immediately. I love C.S. Lewis. I obviously love J.R.R. Tolkien, and what's her name? The girl who wrote 5 Children and It. Oh, I gotta forget right now. Giving Evie White, but that's Stuart Little. Anyway, I love 5 Children and It. I love Mrs. Pigglewiggle. I love children's stories of little magical things. It makes you feel at home and cozy with the old-fashioned, like the old books and the old candlesticks, and I just love all that kind of thing. And just the relationships are really, really neat. Both of the adult relationships, where they're just really investing in the children and really taking the time to, I don't know. Dumbledore is like amazing. Like, I want to be Dumbledore when I grow up. He is so generous and kind-hearted and all about giving people a second chance. That's one reason that stood out to me about how The Prisoner of Azkaban was such an important book, is that the whole time you're thinking Sirius Black, the villain, spoilers, sorry if you haven't read the books, but the whole time you're thinking this one guy is the villain, Sirius Black, and then you go and find out that he's not. Appearances are not everything. He looks like a villain. He looks greasy, slimy, evil, sallow-faced, and everyone thought he was the villain, right? And then you go to find out what a good person he actually was. And it's not done in a cheesy way at all. He was a very complex character. And just the fact that it goes to show you that people of the whole world claim as evil and wrong, or at least your whole world claim them as evil and wrong, can be completely the other way around. It's completely the other way around. And maybe the person who's really at the root of all the problems is not anyone you could possibly have considered. Like, that twist about Scabbers and everything, and Crookshanks, that's another thing. Like, the villains, who you thought was the villain and who you thought was definitely not the villain, was completely turned on its head in a way that was really sweet, especially the relationship between the men, Sirius Black and then Lupin, Remus Lupin. The relationship between those men and obviously James Potter was really sweet. It was really neat to see their brotherhood and their loyalty and everything they had done for each other. So, and it kind of mirrors that sort of brotherhood, so to speak, of Hermione, Ron, and Harry. They always stand up for each other. So I love the adults in those books. And I love how Dumbledore was there to sort of back them up and everything. And I love how they encourage the children to question things that are around them, to do what's right despite what's going on around them and what they're being told to do. So that was a really important book. I feel like it inspired me with feelings of everything is not what they seem, people are not who they seem, and they're not as negative as they may seem, and how you can change your circumstances and you can go against the surrounding authorities to do what you think is right. Anywho, just beautiful. You guys know that the Harry Potter books are beautiful, so you already probably knew that, but I think the whole series is really important. They're also showing a underdog, somebody like Harry, somebody flawed, a kid doing what's right no matter what, in the face of challenges, in the face of character flaws, in the face of everything. So another book that I want to talk about is 13 Reasons Why. I finally got around to reading it this year. I've been wanting to read it for a long time. Obviously, the Netflix series just came out, so it's like really, everyone's talking about it, talking about how either they really hate it or they really love it. And I thought it was really important. And I honestly hate when people get so divisive about books and they get like, it's bad, or even about Netflix series or films, like it's completely evil or it's completely good. Because, it's a story. I found it very important, but also kind of nasty. I find it a little bit difficult to read, considering it is a dark subject matter, but I also I think it's really important because the things that she talks about, the letter to suicide, are things that could happen in someone's life and make their environment kind of miserable. Things that she was talking about, things that teens do all the time to each other, like, and they think it's no big deal, really do make an effect on people and are really mean and have consequences. So yes, people should think about how they treat people and not do these things that for some reason are culturally acceptable or even cool in teen culture. And they should think about how those things have consequences. Yes, for sure. On the other hand, no one... To suggest that people make people commit suicide is pretty harsh, considering that it's still a choice. And something that affects one person so extremely that they commit suicide does not affect other people in the same way. So she's wrong, the girl in the book who sent the tapes to people and saying that it was their fault she died. She's wrong because it wasn't their fault. But whatever, characters are wrong. It doesn't make big of a deal. My most annoyed problem with it was that I can totally see her point. I can see every one of her points. I've known tons of people very much like her who have gone through similar things and who talk about them in the same way that she did and complain about how horrible these things other people did to them. And in real life, when people reach out to the people who have hurt them like that and tell them what they've done wrong, even in a way that is this extreme, people don't always respond. People who are jerkish enough, people who are jerkish enough to really treat people in a very negative way, to not think about how they treat people, most of those people would not have changed after hearing her tapes. Most of the people that I have met who treat people who do really just kind of mean, selfish things to people and treat them and make fun of them and treat them like they're lesser and dehumanize them and stuff like that, will always be those people. And it's not like they would have reacted in the way they would. People, really, if this happened, I believe, and she sent out these tapes and died and sent out these tapes to people, someone would have thrown them away. Someone would have thrown them away right away. And I know she has this whole thing in there where she's like, I'll release private information. Nobody's going to take her seriously. They would throw the tapes away. They would be like, I don't care about this girl. Like it'd be like, man, I guess I should be sorry she died or something, but I have to move on, and I'm really thinking about the party I'm going to tonight. The people that were mean to her like that, they're not going to respect her legacy and her plan. They would have thrown away the tapes, and they would have... I understand why the main character wouldn't, but the rest of them, a lot of them would have just thrown it away. And I honestly think he probably would have too, after a little while. And I understand that the author probably wanted to make a point by having all this happen, and books aren't totally accurate to real life. But I just found it really aggravating, and I was like, as they passed the tapes along, and all these people have passed them along, I was like, no, unfortunately, they would have thrown those away. They would have ignored her. Her death would have just meant probably nothing. Not that it would have meant nothing, it would have meant something to her family and friends, and maybe to some of the people at the high school, but probably would have meant nothing to most of them. And they would have just ended up moving on, and continuing to be jerks, most of them, maybe some of them learning something better along the way, but I just don't think they would have really changed because of things she said. And I know that might seem like, what difference does it make? It's not realistic. I think it does make a difference, because I think the problem with society is that there are jerks out there like that, and the way to deal with them is not to make them change, but it's just to ignore them and move on to people who will respect you. So I think basically it's just a picture of a girl. The only thing that was realistic about it was her. I feel like it was a girl who was very troubled and she needed help. If she'd gotten help, her counselor would have told her to move on from those people to people who would respect her. you know? Or she wouldn't have got, or she would have, everyone would have changed in the high school. She still could have had depression and ended up ending her life. Because some people who have depression in their lives are just mentally ill and has nothing to do with the people around them. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this book. So, I kind of hate her too. Sorry. I'm sad that she died. I'm sad that she ended her life, and I'm sad that everyone treated her awfully. I wanted to punch all of them in the face. But I hate her for doing that to them. Yeah. So, but props to this person who made me feel so much by reading this book. And that's what books are supposed to make you do, and make you think and make you feel. And it did. So props to them for that. All right, one of my more warm feeling books, also about school and jerks and being popular, but in a more fun fashion, is this book, Be More Chill. I mean to read this for a long time because a lot of people on Instagram that I know like it, and then I started getting into the musical that's made of it, and it's really, really cool. Similarly to 13 Reasons Why, it does deal with school jerks and school bullies and the little things that teens do that think doesn't matter, that really drive people into the ground and drive other kids down and other humans down. But it dealt with it in a much more interesting way. This kid wanted to be popular so bad, and everyone around him, and he's awkward, and he's in that transition stage, you know, between childhood and adulthood, and having a lot of trouble with it all, and the kids around him aren't helping any. But told very realistically, by the way. But he decides to take this pill that is this computer thing that will help go into his brain and start talking to him and telling him how to be cool. And sort of parodying what kids do to try to be cool, like ditch your best friend, or, you know, walk in this way or wear this shirt. And it's just a very interesting commentary on what kids do to be cool. And it makes you think, but it's also a fun ride, and it's just a good perspective of a teenage boy, and it's relatable for kids who are human adults who are awkward and everything. So I'm almost gonna like the awkward characters. So it's fun, rides, relatable, talks about popularity and the desire to be popularity, and addresses problems with it, and certain things that you should try to do. So I would totally go for this book. I'm not really explaining it very well, but it's an important book. It's an important book for talking about what the real focus of popularity should be, what the real strive should be, instead of just being popular, how you can be a successful human being in a better way. So, but totally fun in teenage and high school and angst and awkwardness and all of its glory. So I also read this year a few more theological books, and also Hannah Hart's Buffering, which was super cool, very touching. But those are the fictional books that I wanted to talk about, why I think they were so important, and my thoughts on them. So thank you so much for watching. Tell me please what your favorite book is, or what your favorite book that you've read recently is, in the comments below, so we can continue this conversation. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And if you'd like to see me, an artsy nerd, stumbling through life, art, and fandoms, please hit subscribe. And yeah. I also wanted to let you guys know that my first novel, Fairy Tale, is out for purchase on Amazon.com. And it's about a teenage boy who gets yanked into a cliche fairy tale and has to save the day. For now, and until I see you again, please always remember that we are epic heroes today and every day of our lives. And I will see you in the next video. Stay nerdy. Bye.